What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions are looking for a new defensive coordinator this season. They're looking for a new guy. Apparently they're ready to move on from Cory Undlin, although I haven't heard an announcement saying they have fired him or not. So I'm not sure what Cory Undlin is up to. I'm not sure how that whole situation is going to work with him because I haven't heard he's been fired, but I've also heard that the Lions are looking to, bring in this new defensive coordinator in Aaron Glenn to replace him. So I'm not sure how that situation is working out just yet, but the Detroit Lions are in talks with Saints defensive back coach Aaron Glenn to be the next defensive coordinator and be Dan Campbell's first defensive coordinator to start this new tenure and start this new era in Detroit. And although it is not official yet, it does seem very likely as though it is going to happen. And in today's video, I want to talk about Aaron Glenn, talk about his strengths, his weaknesses, talk about what he could bring and why he could be a great defensive coordinator in Detroit, despite not being exactly what a lot of fans might have been looking for when the search began. Now, before we get into talking about Aaron Glenn and what he could do and what he could bring as the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes 2 seconds out of your day. It helps the channel out more than you could know. I'd be super appreciative for it. It would help the channel out a ton. But with all that being said and without any further ado, let's get into talking about Aaron Glenn, the potential defensive coordinator for our Detroit Lions going into next season. Now, Aaron Glenn, as I said, is the Saints defensive back coach, and he has been the Saints defensive back coach since the year 2016. However, he was also a former NFL player, as I believe he was a first-round selection in the NFL draft, where he racked up 3 Pro Bowls and had a very solid 9-year NFL career with a couple of different teams. Now, after his playing career, he, as I said, went into coaching, got a defensive backs job with the Cleveland Browns, then got the defensive backs coach job in New Orleans in 2016, and now seems to be moving on to the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator for 2021 and beyond. Now, the Saints over the past 4 years have had a really decent had a very decent core of secondary players come in and out of that building, and Aaron Glenn has helped work with and develop a lot of very young, very talented defensive back prospects and a lot of very good secondary talent in his time in New Orleans. Now, some of the guys he has coached and worked with include Kenny Vaccaro, Ken Crawley, Von Bell, Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, Eli Apple, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Janoris Jenkins, and Malcolm Jenkins as well. All very good players, all really good secondary players, some safeties, some cornerbacks, all really great secondary players. And as a result, the Saints have had a couple really nice secondary years, or a couple years where the secondary has been top of the NFL in turnovers and points allowed and yards allowed. Aaron Glenn has put together a very nice secondary, and he has coached and developed a very good young secondary for the Saints to lean on for a very long time. I mean, just this past season, the Saints secondary ranked 5th in passing yards allowed, and they had the most interceptions on the season out of all 32 NFL teams. Not to mention that back in the 2016 season, the Saints were, I believe, 3rd in turnovers as well in that secondary. They were 3rd in interceptions in the NFL. So in 2 of his 4 years as the defensive backs coach, the Saints have been a top 5 unit in interceptions in about 50% of the seasons he's been there, which is not a horrible statistic, is not a horrible stat line. They've had some down years as well with Aaron Glenn. However, a majority of the time, they are a very good secondary that force a lot of really nice turnovers, that force a lot of turnovers through the air with the talent that Aaron Glenn has been able to develop. And you might say, oh, that's only 50% of the time. Like, what's special about 50%? Well, the Detroit Lions have not had a defensive unit, have not had a secondary rank top 15 in interceptions since 2017. It's been 4 seasons since the Lions have had a secondary be top 15 in interceptions, and that was the year Darius Slay had 8 by himself. So this secondary has struggled for quite a long time. This secondary has struggled for a while in Detroit, and Aaron Glenn, with his track record, with his history, not only as a player being a cornerback and being a very good one at that, but also his history of developing a lot of really young, very talented cornerbacks, the fit makes a lot of sense, especially considering he'd be coming over offer from New Orleans to come work with one of his former colleagues with Dan Campbell. It all makes sense for Aaron Glenn to come over here and become the defensive coordinator. Now, if you're Aaron Glenn, what entices you to come over, right? Because this is not his only job offer. This is not Aaron Glenn's only opportunity to be a defensive coordinator or to get another job in the NFL. So why would Aaron Glenn want to come here? Well, the connection with Matt Campbell is obviously a very big one, right? They've worked together before. They know what it's like to work together. Aaron Glenn and, Dan Campbell know what each other do well. They know the strengths and weaknesses of each other. So the fact that they know each other and the fact that they're coming from the same successful organization could be a really big plus for this Detroit Lions team. Not to mention, if you're Aaron Glenn, you're gonna really want to come here because this team in the Detroit Lions has a lot of very talented young secondary players to mold and develop as they continue and as they get in and as they kind of start to mold and form their own NFL careers. You look at this roster right now, you have Amani Oruwariye, who's 24, you have Mike Ford, who's 25, Tracy Walker, who's 25, Will Harris, who's 25, Jeff Okudah, who's 21, Bobby Price, who's 22, Jalen Elliott, who's 22. So that's 6 defensive backs right there. That is 6 defensive backs, and the oldest one of them is 25 years old. If you want to go a little bit higher than that, Justin Coleman's only 27. CJ Moore is only 27 as well. So, I believe Tony McRae is only 27. This is a young, talented group of secondary players, and if Aaron Glenn can develop even half of these guys into solid starting caliber cornerbacks and maybe get 1 or 2 of them to break out like a Marshon Lattimore, this secondary is going to be set for a very long time. You've seen him work with other Ohio State defensive backs before, and Marshon Lattimore. Jeff Okudah was expected to be better than Marshon coming out of college, so who better to bring out the best in Jeff Okudah than the guy that developed his former teammate in Marshon Lattimore? It makes a lot of sense for both sides to me, and I think this could be a really big hire for the Detroit Lions. Aaron Glenn has a track record of developing very good quality starting cornerbacks, and occasionally, obviously his biggest developmental guy of all, Marshon Lattimore, being a multiple-time Pro Bowler, obviously winning Rookie of the Year his rookie season, being a real lockdown cornerback for the New Orleans Saints for a very long time to come. So, who better to develop this young secondary than a guy that just got done developing a young secondary and setting an organization up with a young, talented secondary for many years to come? This skill set and the needs of this Detroit Lions secondary right now fit exactly what Aaron Glenn does well and exactly what Aaron Glenn has proven he can do over the past couple of years in New Orleans. Now, not to mention that, being a former defensive back himself and being a former defensive back coach, he's going to know exactly how to put his defensive backs in the best position. So not only is he going to get the best out of each and every cornerback and each and every defensive back that he coaches up and every defensive back that he calls plays for and puts on the field, he's also going to put these guys in situations to help them be successful. Because as a former player, as a longtime defensive backs coach who has a track record of developing and putting his defensive backs in good positions, he knows exactly what it needs to take to make his defensive backs successful. He knows that a great defensive line and a great front seven helps the secondary tremendously, and as a former player, he understands that. As a longtime coach, he understands that. So as the defensive coordinator now being given more responsibility, he's going to know exactly how to put his secondary in the best position to get turnovers. He's going to know exactly how he wants to build his defense in order to put not only his secondary in the greatest position to succeed, but the rest of the defense and the rest of the team in the best position to succeed. If we're going to hire a defensive backs coach to be the defensive coordinator, it should be Aaron Glenn, because he is one of the more proven defensive back coaches in the NFL. He has one of the best track records. He's one of the few defensive back coaches that actually played DB in the NFL at a high level for a very long time. Everything about Aaron Glenn shows me that he's going to be successful. He understands the ins and outs of football. He knows from a player perspective and a coaching perspective what players want to do. He knows, he's experienced the game for a very long time. He's been around the game his entire life. He knows exactly where to put his defensive backs. He knows exactly the best way to utilize each and every skill set that his defensive backs have, and whether it be a man system, whether it be a zone system, whether it be kind of a combination of the two. Aaron Glenn is going to be the guy that's going to be able to put the defensive backs in the right position. He's going to be the guy to understand that you build through the front seven. As much as he loves secondary players, he knows that the best secondaries come with a great front seven in front of them. You look at Chicago, you look at New Orleans. You look at any of the great secondaries in the NFL who had a lot of turnovers this season, especially through the air. They had a great front seven and a great pass rush. Aaron Glenn is going to understand that. He's going to know how to develop the young talent that's on this roster, roster. He's going to be able to put front seven players out there that are going to help this team and help his defensive backs be successful for a long time. And just like in New Orleans, I would expect Aaron Glenn to be able to set up a very young, very talented core of secondary players and develop them and mold them into the secondary they can be. You know, we've seen flashes out of everybody. We've seen Amani make plays. We've seen even Mike Ford make plays. We've seen several plays from Tracy Walker. You know, even I've seen Will Harris make a couple decent plays here and there. We've seen Jeff Okudah jump on the ball. We've even seen him make good plays. You know, Bobby Price and Jalen Elliott we haven't seen yet, but they're very talented young safeties. Obviously, both going into their second year at this point. We haven't seen them play, but they're pretty good, pretty talented young safeties. Bobby Price is a very phenomenal athlete with a pretty smart safety mind. I mean, he has a lot of talent to work with in Detroit if he does end up coming here and does end up signing in the Motor City. And I would be really excited about Aaron Glenn. He might not be the biggest name at defensive coordinator. He might not be the biggest name guy that every single team's going after. And he might not be the most hyped up guy. But if you look at his track record, his history, his performance, what the Lions have right now and what they need to develop in the secondary, Aaron Glenn is the perfect fit to bring in as the defensive coordinator, because not only is he going to know how to put his defensive backs in the best position, and I know that because we've seen it before, you know, and people might be saying, well, what's the difference between Aaron Glenn and Corey Undlin? You know, they were both defensive backs coach. Corey Undlin didn't really work out. What makes Aaron Glenn different? If you look at the difference between how Corey Undlin developed his defensive backs in Philadelphia, and then you look at how Aaron Glenn developed his secondary in New Orleans, it is astronomically different. I mean, Aaron Glenn does such a better job at developing the talent. He does such a better job at putting his defensive backs in positions to succeed. And for that reason alone, I think he will be a better defensive coordinator. I think he understands the game a bit better. I think being a former player helps him see it from a different perspective and see it from a different angle. And with all these things being the case, with all these things piling up, with all these facts and statistics and all these reasons piling up, I truly think Aaron Glenn will be a very good defensive coordinator in Detroit if he can convince the ownership, if he can convince the GM and convince the coach to give him a solid front seven to go along with his developing secondary. This defense can be very good in the near future. This defense has a lot of talent, especially in the secondary. With all the draft picks we've put in, with all the capital we've put into the secondary over the past couple of seasons, it should be a top secondary in the league. And under Aaron Glenn, I believe it will develop into one of the best secondaries in the league. Again, Amani, Mike Ford, Tracy Walker, Jeff Okudah, those are four really good defensive backs. I mean, I've seen Will Harris make a couple plays here and there in the regular season and in the preseason when he played it last year. You know, as I said, very talented young safeties in Elliott and Price. You know, this team has some talent in the secondary, and if there's going to be any defensive backs coach to bring it out of them, it's going to be Aaron Glenn. His specialty is in the secondary, which is where we were trying to build the past couple of years. So all the strength and all the capital and all the potential is there. Now we need Aaron Glenn to come in and mold that talent. We need it to mold that potential. We need him to form into something solid and a solid secondary group. And if anybody is going to do it, Aaron Glenn is going to be the guy. And that's why I think this is going to be a very good hire and a very successful hire for the Detroit Lions. Now, with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Again, this is not official. This is not, the dotted line is not signed. There's no name under defensive coordinator right now for the Detroit Lions. So this could always change, and knowing my luck based on how I make videos, as soon as I'm uploading this, as soon as I click upload to YouTube, it's going to be announced that they're actually hiring somebody else, or Aaron Glenn's actually not going to Detroit. I know something's going to be like that. I'm going to upload it anyway. I can't miss 2 days in a row. The same thing happened yesterday. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Aaron Glenn as a potential defensive coordinator for this team. I'd be super appreciative, or I'd be super excited to know where you guys stand with the hire. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow with more Lions content. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.